Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This video is a follow-up to a previous video called 125x leverage is easy. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description box below. The intention of that video was simply to explain to newbies in crypto that high ROI doesn't prove that somebody is a good trader. And we see this all the time on Twitter and in Facebook groups, traders posting screenshots of massive ROI returns. And a lot of newbies will be suckered into following these people, buying their courses, subscribing to the memberships, or just copying their trade suggestions. In the video, I showed how easily ROI receipts can be generated with no skill and virtually no risk. And although the majority of people thanked me for the insight in the comments, there were a large number of viewers who just didn't get it or had further questions. So this time I'm going to get into the weeds a bit more and really explain how leverage works in a way that I hope is easy to understand. But before I get into all that, please guys, if you find this video useful, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't skip to the end because I can guarantee you that you will miss important information that is vital to understanding how leverage works. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Before we continue, I have to issue a warning to everyone considering trading with leverage. I really mean it when I say that leverage trading is strictly for those with a high level of understanding and training. I have a beginner course and I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. I've intentionally priced this cheaper than the other trading courses out there so that it can reach a wide audience. But if it's still out of your price range, I do have a full risk management plan here on YouTube for free, and I'll leave a link in the description box as well. In this video, we're going to discuss 5 important points: what causes liquidation, the mechanics of leverage, 125x with ease, the purpose of high leverage, and how to win big. Don't get impatient and just skip to the last one. You honestly can't win big without understanding everything that I'm putting in this video. And if you really are that impatient, then leverage trading probably isn't for you anyway. So what causes liquidation? Put as simply as possible, when your account falls below your maintenance margin requirement and you fail to deposit more funds, you're going to be liquidated. If you don't know what a margin maintenance requirement is, then don't worry because we're going to cover that shortly. Now, it's important to know the main things that put you at risk of liquidation, and they are your position size relative to your account balance and failure to use a market stop loss order. To understand how all of this works together, we're going to use a few examples. In this example, we have our trader on the left and the exchange on the right. The trader has an account balance of $10,000 and opens a long position worth $30,000. Some of you will be thinking that our trader has used 3x leverage to take such a position, and while this is possible, the trader could have used higher leverage, but we'll get to that in a bit. The margin maintenance on the exchange our trader is using is 3% of the original position size. In this case, that's $300. This means that the trader has to maintain an account balance of at least $300 or he will be margin called. A margin call is when the exchange contacts you and informs you that you will be liquidated promptly if you don't deposit more money to meet your margin and maintenance requirement. Now we see how it works when the trade moves against our trader. His trade is down 20% and his position is only worth $24,000. On the left, we can see the situation our trader finds himself in, with $6,000 being removed from his account in unrealized P&L. Unrealized simply means that this loss has not been locked in yet, but it is taken into account for the purpose of calculating the trader's margin. So basically, your account balance plus or minus any unrealized profit or loss is your margin. But at $4,000 of margin, our trader isn't going to be margin called just yet. On this side, we can see the trade is now going pear-shaped for our trader, and he's down just over 32%, an unrealized loss of $9,300, leaving our trader with just $300 of margin in his account. At this point, he will be margin called and will have to rush to top up his account to avoid being liquidated. On this slide, we can see that our trader has failed to deposit more funds and the exchange has liquidated him, which basically means they've taken everything that's in his account and he won't get it back. Before we move on to this next section of the video, if you didn't understand anything, please guys go back and watch it again until you do. Now we need to understand what ROI means, and while explaining this, we're also going to cover how different amounts of leverage can be used to get the same position size. We have 2 examples here of open trades. Both accounts have a balance of $10,000 and both trades have a position size of $30,000. In example 1, this trader is only using 3x leverage, and so his entire account is being leveraged at 3x to achieve a position size of $30,000. His investment in this trade is $10,000, and over on the right, if he closes this trade with a profit of $20,000, that will be return on investment of 200%. In example 2, our second trader is using 10x leverage. In this example, only $3,000 of his account is being leveraged for the same position size, and this leaves $7,000 in the account that is available for new positions to be opened. It's worth noting that if this trade moves against our second trader, the unrealized loss will eat into his available balance. But our second trader ends up closing his trade for a profit of $20,000 just like our first trader. But this return on investment is over 666% because of the higher leverage. $20,000 is 666.66% of $3,000. Now, assuming trader 2 never opened a second position, both traders made the same trade with the same risk, but one ended up with a much more impressive looking ROI that he can post to Twitter. And here we have an example of the danger of opening that second position. This time our trader has seen a second opportunity in the markets, and for the sake of simplicity, both trades have moved against him the same amount. He reaches liquidation twice as fast. It's worth noting that in none of the examples I've used did our traders employ the use of a stop market order, which would have saved them from margin calls and liquidation. So how do people get these massive ROI receipts without using any real skill or taking any real risk? The first thing to notice on these ROI receipts is that there is no position size and no profit, only an ROI percentage. Which brings me to example 3. This time our trader opens a $250 position using 125x leverage. Because of the combination of high leverage and a small position size, our trader is only leveraging $2 of his account, and $9,998 remains available to open new positions. Even if this trade went absolutely pear-shaped, our trader is never in any real risk of liquidation. If he closes this trade with a $10 profit, the ROI receipt will read 500%, and this will look amazing when he posts it to Twitter. Last example of exactly what not to do. This trader again has an account size of $10,000, but this time uses the maximum position size the exchange will let him open. In this case, it is 33x because any higher and he will already be short of the margin maintenance requirement of 3%. And here we can see how quickly and easily our trader is liquidated trying to put on this hero position size. The trader only has to move 0.03% in the wrong direction and our trader is margin called, and it's unlikely he'll have time to put in the funds needed to keep him from being liquidated. Which brings us to the purpose of high leverage trading. The only reason exchanges offer high leverage trading is to get you into trouble and liquidate you for profits. Remember what we said earlier. One of the main risk factors is your position size relative to your account size, and high leverage enables you to open position sizes that are far too big. Yes, you can use high leverage to open a small position size, but then you're left with room to keep opening new positions, and that's the other way you get into trouble. Multiple smaller positions basically add up to one big position, and the result is that you're more likely to get liquidated. And that's why I chose this image of a homeless person, because the exchanges will take everything it can from you, and once it's gone, you're not a trader anymore. So now you're thinking, but Mark, if I shouldn't use high leverage, how can I get a big position size and make a good profit? Well, the answer is that you need a strategy with two basic qualities, a tight stop loss and proven profitability. And don't worry, because in a minute I'm going to tell you how to get there. But before I do, let me just explain why you need a tight stop loss if you want to take trades with big profits. A tight stop loss allows for a larger position size for the same risk. With this, you need to use a trade calculator, and this is all explained for free in the risk management video I mentioned earlier. Again, it's in the description box below. Go and watch that video now and then experiment with the trade calculator, and you'll see that a tight stop loss allows you to get a much larger position size for the same risk. But what's important to note is that a tight stop loss is more likely to get hit, and that's why you need to be using a proven strategy. And that brings us to the next slide, your road to success. This is a difficult road, and honestly, most of you won't make it to the end. Becoming a successful trader requires really good control over your emotions, and there's only a small percentage of people that are ever going to be able to do that. And this is a good time to mention that if you've ever had a problem with addiction, especially gambling, then this probably isn't for you. So let's get on to the road to success. Step 1 is to create a big move strategy. Open a chart, look at all the explosive moves, Identify criteria that you see consistently before those big moves. You can use chart patterns, candlestick patterns, or any of the thousands of indicators there are to come up with a strategy that you can test. When you first start out, it's really important that you don't slave over the strategy so much yourself. Just put a strategy together and start testing it to get the ball rolling. Your strategy needs entry conditions, a stop loss, and a target or targets. And here's a hint, don't use a 1-to-1 target. Go for at least 1-to-3. Trust me on this because I've backtested a lot of strategies. Once you've got your strategy ready, open up a fresh chart, go back in time as far as you can using the replay feature, hit replay and backtest your strategy 100 times. This honestly takes less than an hour. Repeat this until you have a strategy that's profitable. You'll be shocked at how easy this can be because finding a winning strategy is the easy part. It's the executing it under pressure that is hard, and that's where most people fail. And that brings me to the last step, which is to start small when you trade your strategy live, or better yet, trade it using a demo account. Real trading is not backtesting. In backtesting, you take every trade. Even if you just took 4 losses in a row, it's nothing to backtest the strategy on the next setup. It's something else entirely to take 4 real losses in a row and then enter the same setup again because you know the odds are still in your favor. Something you'll see when you backtest your strategy is that losing streaks are a part of trading and you need to just blast through them. But only if you've proven to yourself through backtesting that the odds are in your favor. This is easy to talk about and hard in practice, so start with a very small account and use my risk management plan. Now, there's going to be those of you who just want a strategy given to them. Something packaged into a video series, something backtested, something that catches big moves. And that is where my very own strategy I call the squeeze zone comes in. This strategy has 500 backtests provided with the course. It's a strategy with a tight stop loss. It's highly profitable, but it's for experienced traders only. And I really mean that. If you're not someone that is at least moderately profitable already, that I'm telling you, you're probably not ready for this strategy. Now, what do I mean when I say 500 backtests provided? Well, I did 500 backtests, and each time I tested it, I used TradingView's snapshot feature to grab a link, and I've provided all 500 links with the course. I started with the 100 backtests that I recommend, and I actually couldn't believe how profitable the strategy was, so I went and did 400 more, and that's how I found that there's really no need to do more than 100. Now, have you ever seen a trading course that went to these links to prove that their course was profitable? Of course not, but before you consider buying the squeeze zone, I want to level with you, you still need to backtest my strategy 100 times before you use it. The 500 backtests provided are my backtests, and when I look at a chart, I see it different than you do. So don't be under any illusions that all the hard work is just done for you. You still need to backtest it for yourself. You still need to start small and you still need to use risk management. If you're interested in the course, I'll leave it with the other links in the description box below. Thanks guys, that's all for this one. I'll see you on Monday for my weekly Bitcoin analysis.